day before yesterday. Yes. This is King Under the Mountain, and I've been enjoying the early game of this, and we're going to continue playing this. What are you hunting about? You clearly weren't listening. That's fine. This is a little dwarfy town builder. Very unfinished, super early access, unfinished dwarf town builder. But I would like to play it because it seems interesting. And when a game seems interesting, I want to play it. So we're going to be playing this. Although I need a fuel stockpile. That's what we need. It's going to put right there for right now. It's a little game about controlling a colony of dwarves. Something that I should grab for you guys, though, before people inevitably start asking, is a link to the development roadmap. This is a game that I backed on Kickstarter a while ago. And I do mean a while ago. Like a long while ago. Back in 2018. And it's got a lot of really neat features in the pipeline. So this is what we're going to be playing for the remainder of the stream tonight. If you were here just for Cud and you're piecing out, I understand. If you want to watch the rest of that playthrough, it's all up on YouTube. We'll be playing more Cud in the future, of course, though. But if you want to stick around for this game, it'd be much appreciated. Updating some things on the back end while little guys run around slowly. Also want to check something. And I just want to mention, chat, that the Hot Potato Charity Marathon has raised $42,669.69. So, hell yeah. It's a pretty good set of numbers, I'd say. Waiting for ore or fuel to be available. That is something that is perplexing me. Because this is just a normal stockpile, right? Near raw materials. Let's turn crushed ore off on there. And then fuel is what? Just fuel? Raw materials. Crushed ore. Let's see what that does. And then check settlers for a second here and see blacksmiths. Thing that I'm actually missing now. I got everybody doing every job. All right, so that needs to be available. So it should be... Everything should be available there now, so they should be able to go get it. Unless I'm missing something entirely, which is also possible. Just looking on Discord and I'm reading that Hobo's getting influenced to buy guitar pedals off of TikTok and I'm disappointed. There we go. Now they're actually running to these other parts of this, which is what I need them to do. Because they weren't constructing the, the forge, right? Which is this. You know, also, let's just try rebuilding that, because that might also have something to do with it. The fact that we had to restart the game. This game being super early and a couple patches going off in the background. Yeah, it might very well just have broken something. At least they're using all different parts of the forge now, which is good. We do have large amounts of food, though, available, which is good. So, chat, what do you guys want to talk about? Because we got to get that conversation rolling again. Because that's basically how this channel operates, right? If there's nobody talking, then, like, I might as well not even be doing my job. Because I'm practically doing my job incorrectly if there's nobody talking. Because as a smaller channel, I kind of live and die by the activity levels of my chat. And if chat's inactive, then, well, might as well take the day off. Nah, no interest in Kenshi. It's one of the few games that, like, everybody seems to like that I'm just like, I have interest. Nothing about Kenshi interests me. every other game that I play does it better in a way that looks better and that I actually want to interact with. My biggest problem with Kenshi is I don't want to interact with it. I did own a very early version of it on Dasura. That was a very long time ago. There they go. Kind of like RimWorld? It's actually nothing like RimWorld, believe it or not. It's a lot like classic 2D Dwarf Fortress. But if you look at that roadmap, see how they plan to do combat and things, it's going to be very different. The problem with RimWorld is it's so bland and generic that every single colony builder looks like RimWorld, even if it's completely different mechanically. And I feel like it's kind of a big unfortunate situation. Hobo, I'm going to time you out for 10 minutes. Yeet. For that comment. How you doing, Hobo? Did work murder you again today? Or did you survive? Do it? Okay, see you in 10. And remind me when you get back and I'll remod you. But, yeah, no, so this game mechanically is, like, nothing like RimWorld. It's like saying that, like, if you've ever played Prison Architect, it's like saying Prison Architect is just like RimWorld, but whereas the game plays completely differently. You know, I'm so tired of people just being like, oh, this looks like that. It's like, well, it's nothing like that, though. So why say it? It's just kind of devaluing the interest in other games. It's like one of my biggest mistakes as a creator was playing RimWorld for too long. But that's besides the point. Okay, what are we making here now? Producing an anvil. That's not what I want you to make. I really would like you to make a cauldron. Yeah, it's like saying this book has a similar looking cover to Lord of the Rings, so it must be exactly like Lord of the Rings. Wheel of Time? Bullshit. Must just be like Lord of the Rings. Already read Lord of the Rings. It's devaluing something very heavily. There we go. We have a new cauldron. That's what we actually needed. Right, so next major thing we got to get up and running is textiles. But to give you an idea why this game is nothing like RimWorld is you have zero direct control or say over what your colonists do. That is probably the biggest difference between this and RimWorld. Is you have zero say or control over what they do. Which makes it a lot more like Dwarf Fortress, a game I like a lot more. Also because I like him, I'm going to un-time out Hobo. He just said do it, so I had to. And I'll remod you. Welcome back to the mod squad, Hobo. Oh, cool. Just got some new dudes. Welcome back, man. Anyway, how was work? Was it absolutely life demolishing again, or was it better? Or were you off today? The prosperity of your settlement has attracted a number of immigrants. Seeing as how many? And where did they come from? Kind of hard to see things on the map. Too many of a mini map. So we have 20 population now, so 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Cool, we got more than enough pets. You worked? Boo. Halo was pretty fun last night, though. We need more of that. Also, Bob, you gave me like the best retort to everybody who makes that statement now, which is like, quit judging books by their covers. All I'm gonna say now. It's so devaluing to the work of other creators. Also, thanks for those, Bob. Goes a long way, man. This is weird. What is it? I don't know what I'm looking at, Hobo. What am I looking at? Looks like a broken window. Oh, you accidentally opened mod view. Oh, okay. Huh. That's bizarre. Mod view and multi-twitch is... That's something special. Guess we're going to need to make another set of like 40 beds, but we're going to get this area opened up and we're going to try and get textiles up and running. This is our little farming with irrigation, and we got water pumps pumping water into the irrigated fields. Got tomatoes planted with their seeds, and we have seeds in a seed stockpile down here, tools, various different crafting spots. Our kitchens, which are bringing big pots filled with soup over into this room for dining. We're going to need to build a bigger kitchen pretty soon, though. I think I'm going to build a kitchen down here and actually get like fishing and stuff up and running. Because I do have 4 fishers now, so I think actually we're going to do that. We're going to build a new kitchen down here. It's going to be significantly larger. Nice other streamer you got there. Yeah, Hobo's, you know, got good taste in channels. We know this from years and years and years of experience. I mean, he's watching me, which means he's made at least one mistake. So hopefully he has better taste in other channels. But, you know, we do know that he has excellent taste in some cases in Twitch channels. But, you know, nobody's perfect, of course. So we're going to build this into a bigger kitchen, and we're going to make this whole thing into our dining hall and feasting hall. This food's going to be stored down here and everything. Because right now, the kitchen is just unfortunately too tiny. We also need more lights. Lights need to happen. Stat. Oh, that's funny. I don't have any iron cauldrons, so they can't even make soup right now. So this just waits for metal cauldron. This one waits for an iron cauldron specifically. There we go. So now we can actually cook food because we have a cauldron in there. We're going to try and get baking up and running in the bigger kitchen down here as well, because we do have some of the stuff to do baking. Like we have wheat and barley, I think. Did I actually start growing wheat? Corn, hops, barley. No, I'm not growing. Okay, well, we should grow some wheat then. We also need to get a brewery up and running. But Stoned Hobo is you then, Hobo. Brewery is significantly less important in this Corage than it is in Dwarf Fortress. So... I mean, Dwarf Fortress, if you don't have booze within the first 6 months, you're going to have people running around in circles insane. And you're going to have children dying of lack of alcohol consumption, which is a horrible, horrible, horrible sin. You don't ever want a dwarf to go through such things. But in a game like this, like they've been 3 years without alcohol, so we need to sort that problem out. I am me, and we are he, as he is together, yes. Also, speaking of crazy things, we're about to... I think that we're about to hit 54-month resubs starting tomorrow. Which is wild, by the way. I don't even know what that means, Hobo, so I will just simply smile and nod. So we need a bigger table in here. This feasting hall isn't big enough. We're going to make this whole thing into a feasting hall. We're going to start knocking out these walls in here as well. That sounds hard-boiled, Bob. Well, DF really isn't a roguelike. It's a world simulation, but sure. I mean, tile sets are a matter of personal preference in Dwarf Fortress. I mean, if you want something graphical, I would recommend Vettelinger's tile set or Space Fox. If you want something that isn't graphical, I mean, the world's your oyster at that point because there's billions of ASCII tile sets that look wonderful for Dwarf Fort. But don't go into Dwarf Fortress blind. Like, you literally need to read the wiki to play that game. You'll never, like, I'd be shocked if you even figured out how to make a fort, like, how to even, like, dig without the wiki. That game is a wiki necessity game. It's not as bad as some people make it out to be, but it can be pretty rough. So this is going to be textiles down here, and this over here is going to be new kitchens. Wait, Hobo, what do you want about? I completely lost the thread of this discussion, I'll be completely honest. It didn't really go anywhere very far. It's just suddenly now you're talking about British boys and getting shot. So you must be talking about anime, because there's no other way that I could possibly be more lost. Or at least that's my assumption. Generally, I assume, if I'm looking at chat and I have no idea what chat's talking about, I generally just assume that it's anime. Which is a pretty fair assumption, I think. So I'm curious, did I remember to up the stream counter from yesterday? I'm now suddenly questioning. No, I didn't. Shit. We're on stream 1,978, not 77. I mean, Riftwork, is that like a Craftwork cover band? I will tell you what Bobtron said to Hobo, which is quit judging books by their cover. This is very much more like 2D Dwarf Fortress from 2007. But I encourage you to have a peek at their early access roadmap and quit judging books by their cover. Big F. Yeah, but I don't care about surface level value. So either look at that and your opinions. I have a question. Do you guys enjoy me streaming? Do you guys enjoy me streaming weird indie games? Or do you just want to, you know, comment that this looks like other games that exist? If you just want to comment that it looks like other games that exist, just go watch those games. If you want to be interested in weird indie games, tune into my stream, and then we'll play weird indie games. Otherwise, you're just going to get me rolling my eyes at you every single time. You're like, this looks like other games that exist. Because, yes, every game looks like other games that exist. Not like RimWorld's unique. RimWorld just looks like fucking Prison Architect. All right. Does a grist mill require power? I don't know if it does. Because I like weird indie games. I like small games that less people have heard of. But people just degrading games down to their visuals is a little bit shallow. So, be better, guys. Come on. There's a lot of really cool games out there. All right, so we can deconstruct all that and build it down here. Oh, I know you did. I know you did. Also, I'm trying to use DF hotkeys in this. I was like, why the inventory button no work? Lantern, that's what I want. It's kind of dark back here. Also, Hobo, if you back this on Kickstarter, then theoretically you should have it. Or actually, you should have had it for a while. Also, this game's not that weird. Caves of Cut is pretty fucking weird. This is not that weird. Potatoes. So now that we got this done, we can then cut out this middle bit of the wall and expand this dining hall. So when food is delivered to the dining hall, it's, well, ready to go. All right, you build furniture pillar. Put that there. Put another one in the, one there, one there. BRB, alrighty, Hobo. Or at the very least, make sure that you've like claimed the key for it, even if you don't play it. Okay, cool. They're tilling the soil for that. Bee pirate bee. Hobo's a bee pirate bee. Could you imagine a pirate wielding bees? That sounds like something they'd let you do in Sea of Thieves. So the bowl of soup should be up here. It is currently. Cool. You actually have 2 cauldrons, meaning I theoretically could place 2 cauldrons in here. So we could be making another bowl of soup. Yeah, because I've got that. I've got the steel cauldron. You also have the rusty iron cauldron. This was up there a minute ago. Just came back. So now we can have more meals getting done in here. So these lights are nowhere near bright enough. This game needs better lighting. Not all of these little guys get the benefit of the headlamps. So they bring water into the cauldron. They fill the cauldron up with water, and then they bring 2 different ingredients and they make soup. And then the cauldrons are brought into the dining hall up here, which I can make bigger now. Although the dining hall is going to kind of suck for a minute because everything in here is getting removed. But I can have bigger tables. Hopefully everybody's already eaten though. Alright, now that we've done that, nope, furniture, that button, yep. Now the question is where in the heck do I put the tables? Guess we could do like this. That. Another one up there in the future. And then we can put 2 cauldrons up there. Water barrel. Chairs. This will be our new feasting hall. We should have space for more chairs in the middle there once we need them. I put bees in catapults? Yeah, basically. I'm just imagining firing beehives out of the castle, out of ballistas or something. That would be kind of incredible, I'm not gonna lie. Let's just get rid of that one. So they're now putting the soup there. Although we need to finish these first. Just increase the priority on that. Get that table done. Our poor little dudes can have a table. When I first moved into this apartment, I lived here for 3 weeks without any seating or a table. And it was a long few weeks. You don't realize how much you need chairs in a living space until you live in a living space with no chairs. All right, I also don't know if they're going to be able to, use the baker's oven or the baker's workshop. Is there anything that I'm missing here? Got the grist mill. I don't even know what they use that for. I just built it because it was there. All right, pillars. Let's do that. Remove you. And I can put another table up here in the corner. Worried about food for next year. Although, we do kind of seem to have a lot of food. We'll find out, I guess. Kind of doing a lot of construction right now, though. Although, hopefully, they're going to start making more blocks and get rid of more of these boulders. I kind of had to slow down the production of blocks because we had so many blocks that they were starting to cover the all of the flooring, which was a little bit of a problem. It also means we can start working on flooring for this room, which is good. Get a whole bunch of lanterns in here. Fortunately, lanterns take almost no material. Kind of wish I could put lanterns on the table. That would make sense, wouldn't it? And let's also put a feasting table there. Chairs along the top. Not resources. Let's go into crafting. Blacksmithing. How many cauldrons are we trying to make? Let's make 4 cauldrons. Just so that we can have more cauldrons ready to go. It's going to take a little bit, but yeah, eventually once they add in combat to this game, they're planning on making the combat turn-based, which I'm really curious to see how that ends up playing. Like a pseudo XCOM style combat theoretically would be really interesting. Although I don't know what type of turn-based combat they're going to do. Because if it's like more of an XCOM style of thing, that could be really interesting if it's like mini Battle Brothers. But if they go more of a like timeline-based turn-based system, that could also be really cool. I'm really curious to see what this game ends up being all in all once they're kind of finished it, or once it gets more heavily worked on, because this game is still extremely early. This is one of the most early access games I've really streamed in a while. Which, I'm no stranger to. I've definitely done that in the past, but it's still very early, so I just kind of can't stress that enough. Very much not, like, ready to be judged, I guess. Give it time to kind of come into its own. Although something that I think is kind of interesting is, what I think is neat about this game is its weirdness and its unnecessary complexity in places. Things like plants can dry out and stop growing if they don't get watered long enough, and you need to irrigate the soil or have barrels close by in a well. And I've seen some people complaining on the Steam forums that their plants just stopped growing for no reason. It's like, well, you have to read the tooltips as to why they're not growing. You have to click on them and read them. But a lot of people don't do that. They just see something isn't working, they assume the game's broken, and they get upset with the game. Which I think is, again, kind of like what I think is interesting about this game, but what other people who come from other colony builders will dislike. I have a feeling it would, once combat starts, things pause, but I don't know how it's going to end up looking exactly. I'm sure the developer has an idea. Invading, like if you're attacking other things, turn-based would make a lot of sense, right? Because you could have like a setup phase and all that. Defending would be a little bit trickier, I think. All right, we're going to make a Textile Workshop. I have no idea what this looks like, so a redding tank. Ooh. Make one of those and then a loom. So what do you need? Need blocks? And you just need planks. All right. Yeah, basically everything I hear about this game makes me more interested in this game. It's like, it's still very much a big question mark, right? Like, because we have no idea if this game's ever, gonna make it, right? But the more I hear about this game and the more I read about it, the more optimistic and curious I am about it. Do I even have any fishing rods right now? I don't think I do. All right, crafting. I think that's under carpentry. All right, so we have to hack down some trees, I think, because we have no fishing rods and we need fishing rods. But I don't know. This game seems to so far be more or less everything that I enjoy in a game like this, right? Which at the very least means it's a game for me, which might mean it will never get a mainstream audience, but I don't know. I think that this game has... I think that this game's biggest enemy right now is itself. And the reason I say its biggest enemy is itself is because its biggest enemy is games that it's going to be compared with, right? Because unfortunately, it's literally impossible to make a game like this without immediately being compared to every single game that it visually looks like, just like you guys do all the time, which immediately devalues it because absolutely it's a less completed game than any other game that you could think of, right? And there's on paper very little reason why you would play this game over one of the more developed games. But like, to me, that's what makes it interesting, is because it's got so much further to go and so many places it could end up being in the future, that it kind of doesn't matter to me, which maybe is silly, but it kind of doesn't, because I like seeing where games end up. There we go. We can bring wood there. Bunch of logs over there now. Producing 2 planks. How many planks are we producing? Let's just do 140 planks. Really don't need as many planks as the game wants me to make right now. But you know, the game's already got like a basic kind of a concept of like limb simulation and different wounds. Even though combat's not in the game yet, like the simulation's already there and there's been devlogs about it. Just like, you know, devlogs about redirecting rivers and making water flow in different directions and underground pipes and all that stuff. It's like, looking at that, it's like, okay, this has optimization possibilities and directions that they can go in that are gonna hopefully be interesting. So that's the brewery that we need to make. Thinking we cut out a room back here and make a brewery. But, let's do... And the fact that stuff caves in pretty consistently is neat as well. Not like, you know, game-changing or anything, but interesting. Getting our first, like, tiled room in. It's exciting. Ebony loom. Seen anybody using the loom yet. Granted, I'm assuming we need to be growing hemp or cotton or something. Let's make another farm plot. I'm just going to put down here. Hemp, I assume? Nascent is exciting. Yeah, I would agree. Apparently there is hunting in the game, because that dwarf had hunting assigned. I was under the impression that it wasn't in the game yet. I'm going to give you farming as a secondary task. You need more farming. Well, I mean, like I was saying earlier, Chronikesh, I mean, this has about as much in common with RimWorld as RimWorld has with Prison Architect, right? Like, visually at a glance, for 5 seconds, they look pretty similar, but once you actually play them, it's like, okay, these are very different. And this game's gonna end up going in a completely different direction. Because this game's super bare bones right now, it's very much easier to just say that it's like, got a lot in common with that, but when you look at the devlogs, it's like all this game needs really is sales, which is a lot to ask for, unfortunately, in the current world of selling video games. But yeah, to me, like, this game by itself, super interesting and intriguing. This game, next to its roadmap, borderline, like, bloody exciting, so. But I have this advantage as to, the fact that I paid for the game already on Kickstarter and didn't have to pay as much as you will on Steam, and so I got this game for 15 bucks instead of the, like, 25 that it's for sale for now. It is an ambitious roadmap, yeah. Twitch Ups, it is indeed an ambitious roadmap. How you doing, by the way? See you. Peter, are you lurking in the chat right now? Because I think I could maybe sort out your Discord issue verbally easier than I could type it in. have to put up these pillars very carefully, otherwise it'll cave in on me. With malfunctioning robots. What are these animations for? Well, this is going to be for our brewery back here, connected to the kitchen. Also, let's start hacking around the outside. Around the outside. Around the outside. Well, those are almost up. No ways to wait, though. You know, it's impossible for my brain to, like, accept the words around the outside without immediately getting that song stuck in my own head, so. You really suck at animating? Just practice, or? Is this for a bigger project, I guess? Okay, it looks like they're making us more blocks. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that this game ends up doing well, because it's really bloody well difficult to launch a game in early access right now. It's ridiculously difficult to do that. And this game doesn't exactly stand out. So this game's going to need as much help as it can get, I think. Making soup. So for a second there, I thought that that was fish, and I was excited, but it's not. We are running. The cauldron's over. Got some barley being harvested. I also have hops somewhere, don't I? Carrot, potato, tomato, hops. Yeah, okay. So we have barley and hops. And down here, eventually, hopefully, we're gonna, once we're done tilling that soil, we're gonna get some hemp going so we can actually make some cloth. Think of the worst sci-fi movies from the 50s and you get the idea? To a degree, I get it. I understand what you're suggesting with that statement. This is going to take forever. There's a negative review for this game on Steam, which is just, it is too convoluted to build stuff. I think it's like too simple to build stuff. I'm sitting here thinking about how they could like make it more complicated in interesting ways, and then this person's just like, it's unnecessarily complex to build stuff. Well, I guess we disagree then, friend. But these little lights in front of doors, side, the lit hallway. Trying to think of like I'm imagining like various like horror sci-fi films I've seen that are from that era, and I do kind of get the point. Are these animations I'll ever see switch ups, or are these just gonna be hidden in the depths of your hard drive, never to emerge to a public audience? Although, Chronokesh, just kind of reading back up in chat, I will say that I don't believe that there is any excitement or attention being given to this game at this precise moment. There's like a Splattercat video that did pretty well, and that's kind of it. It's like me, Splattercat, and Nucrium are like the only people covering it, really. Which is like, you know, the usual suspects, basically, but still. I think I'm going to put just a stock raw materials pile over here. I do too, like the roadmap, yeah. I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? Twitch ups? Everybody's got to start somewhere. It is looking like we've got enough food. Let's see something real quick. See if that's the food sound effect. There we go. Wanted that to be a little bit quieter. There we go. Let's build a brewery. The brewery is this zone, which requires a lot of things. It requires water barrel for starts, malting station, to make malt, a mash tin to make mash, a brew kettle to, well, brew, and a fermentation tank to ferment. Let's make 2 of those tanks. They already have the fermentation tanks made, which straight up just kind of look like kegs, which I think is kind of funny. They need some of those more unique goals to really stick out. I think that the way that this, like, glancing at the roadmap, like, just gonna state some things. Where did it go? There's a lot of things that this game is trying to do progression-wise. Like, standing out, yes, I do completely agree. But all of the ways that they're planning on doing... How do I word this? Just the individual tasks to complete anything is more complicated than Dwarf Fortress in a lot of cases already, right? So I think the way this game will stand out is like, do you want something that's like Dwarf Fortress, but less systems driven and more management game? Is very much what this game is doing differently than Dwarf Fortress. Like, yeah, it's easy to just kind of point at it and be like, well, it's very Dwarf Fortress inspired, which is true. But I do honestly feel from what I've seen and what I've played of this game that it's gonna end up being a lot more management gamey. You know, like Dwarf Fortress kind of leaves some people wanting when it comes to, I want a management game, right? And I think kind of the game that does that best right now is probably Songs of Six, where it's like, yo, do you want like a fucking factory game disguised as a colony builder? That's Songs of Six. This has a little bit more of that, if that makes sense. But I do agree that like once you kind of have the generic fantasy theme, it's difficult. How many citizens do you manage? We have 20 right now, but I've had people say that they've had like 200, so we'll see. And then, like, if you look at the trailer, there's quite a few. So I don't really know at what point the game kind of falls over. Doesn't really make it that clear. The developers also talked about things like being able to invade other people's forts, which is a mod for RimWorld. You know that where it puts your destroyed bases into a server and then you can go in and raid them? That's a feature that they want to have. Stuff like that. I guess, like, Keeper RL is a very different game from Dwarf Fortress, right? but I see people making the immediate comparison to Dwarf Fortress, when in playability-wise, outside of like the fantasy theme, it's a very different game. I have a feeling this is going to go in that direction, where it's like, on the surface, if you would glance at it, it'll be like, oh, this looks kind of like Dwarf Fortress or RimWorld. But when you sit down and actually play it, I have a feeling it's going to end up being very different by the end. But, you know, I could also be totally off base there. You're playing Keeper RL? That's a good game. I'm saying. It's a very good game. I need to play more Songs of Six, but in order to play more Songs of Six, I need to do some testing. That's one of my games I'm planning on getting into during December. The problem that I had with Songs of Six is it made my OBS crash. Because it runs in Java, it does some weird things with OBS. So I need to play more of it. But in order to play more of it, I have to make sure it doesn't make my OBS crash. So I can't just like start it up and stream it, but... The thing about Songs of Six, though, is it doesn't have a generic fantasy theme. It has, like, humans and then weird ancient metal golem people and then dwarf equivalent-like things and then elf equivalent-like things, but none of them are called that. Well, the thing is, here's the thing, though. The complexity of Dwarf Fortress is a myth, right? The game itself under the hood is exceptionally dense, right? There is a lot going on under the hood in Dwarf Fortress. But as a player, you don't actually see any of that. You don't need to see any of that unless you intentionally go looking for it. Playing Dwarf Fortress is not the hard part about it. Like, the depth, if you go looking for it, is there, absolutely. But it's not immediately apparent. The game does a very good job, like, not hiding that from the player, but making it so that the player doesn't have to worry about the complexity. But people psych themselves up so much about it that they don't try it in the first place, which is the actual problem. I mean, it's something I want to do in December. And it's not that I need to get it working, I just need to test it. Because I notified the dev of that bug a long time ago, and he acknowledged it, so I assume that it's been fixed. Considering I've seen other people streaming it since then without their streams crashing, I'm assuming it's been fixed. Because it wasn't unique to me. That's not the... that's not the definition of complexity, though. The complexity is the under-the-hood mechanics. The UI is the UI, and that's a different discussion. The complexity in Dwarf Fortress is like the fact that it's constantly checking the dwarves' weight based on the amount of fat they have, based on the amount of energy they've been expelling, based on the amount of food that they've been eating and the types of food that they've been eating. It's checking the size of your dwarves based on like the amount of fat that they have on their bodies and the speed at which they can die when they've been set on fire because of how long it takes for that fat to melt. That's the like complexity of Dwarf Fortress. But that complexity doesn't matter. And the UI is not that bad. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. And ideally, the Steam version will fix that issue. Well, the reworked UI that'll come alongside of the Steam version for Classic as well. But as somebody who has, like, literally thousands of hours in Dwarf Fortress, it's not as bad as people say. Like, all of the memes saying that Dwarf Fortress is the most difficult game ever made are, like, factually incorrect. For whatever that's worth. I need some more specific farmers, like people that do nothing but farm. Renegatorade, do me a huge favor. Don't tell me my view count, because I do have it disabled. I check it after the stream is finished, but I don't generally want to know what my view count is. All good, though. Also, you spelled nice wrong. Unless that was intentional. I mean, C is right next to V. So that could be a typo, or that could be intentional. Maybe you're trying to be like leap. Waiting for a metal tank to be available. Need 4 of those. 3 of them. But how you doing, Renegade? Ooh. I just got an email about new Soul Ash content. That's a neat game. Speaking of weird games that nobody knows about. Soul Ash is neat. That was definitely a typo. Oh, it's all good. Don't worry about it. No hard feels. It's fun to meme about, I get it. But it is kind of a lie. I do sometimes check my view count while I'm streaming, but it's something that I've been trying to do less. It kind of takes away from the quality of the stream a little bit. Put a pillar there. This is just going to end up being a bigger open area once this is all done. Waiting for a brew tank to be available. Assuming that they need ore. We have plenty of metal. You think that they could just make us a brew tank? Maybe we just need more dwarves. Maybe that's the problem. Are you tilling one field up there, and then tilling one field down there, and then tilling one field up there, and tilling one field down there? Because if that's the case, you're fired, dwarf. Oh, interesting. I can absolutely... I was just wondering this. I'm like, can I make bridges over top of my irrigation? And it looks like I can. Also, can I just say that these bridges look really nice? They look kind of rad. Good to hear, Renegade. Depending on where you are in the world, I hope you either had a good Thursday this week or Turkey Day. I really hope that they implement like little pathways that generate as the little guys run around. You know, it's kind of funny. I've been thinking about 2D Dwarf Fortress a lot recently because I was watching a talk that Tarn Adams did. Just because he mentioned it in a clip that I put up on YouTube. Where he talks about the problems that they had with 2D Dwarf Fortress and why they went 3D. And he said that one of the things that they lost when going 3D was that it was easier to make the game feel gamey when it was 2D. And it's always been harder to make it feel gamey as a 3D game, and it's just more of a sandbox. Which I think is interesting. Just something that I personally would never really think about. But I can kind of get it. Let's try increasing that. Let's make 6 total. We got tons of hematite, meaning I should be able to make more of those. Let's go to... It's smelting? Okay. Wonder if fuel's the problem. Fuel might be the problem. We might be out of coal. Let's see. Are we out of coal? Nope, we are not. Oh, what? Yeah, no, we are not out of coal. All right, well. Who's my blacksmith then? You can just go blacksmith. You ate a nicely prepared meal. Well, that's good. Trying to figure out what exactly is stopping them from... Okay, we got no coke. We've got no fuel of any kind right now, which is kind of a problem. Amethyst gems. Looking for fresh coal. So that we can put it in the little kids' stockings for Christmas. Or some. Wonder if they finished those bridges yet. Yeah, they did. Look at that. Is there anything up here? Aside from trees. Nope, just trees. Okay. Gold up here. Bunch of ores as well. Fungi wood down there. One of the first things I found so far that's just straight up same name as Dwarf Fort. Fungi wood. A lot of things have different names, but... Trying to figure out why none of this is waiting for stuff. There is a deer in my house. Why is there a deer in my house? Can we hunt this deer in my house? Interesting. So deers are capable of opening doors. All right, then. Oh, hey, you're going to go hunt. See how this goes. I guess that's hunting. And then it runs back inside. Well. This is my first time witnessing hunting in this game. Oh, how convenient of it to come right into the kitchen. Bleeding rear left leg. Interesting. Internal bleeding, destroyed right lung. And then they carry it. All right. Interesting. There's a little simulation going on there. And I guess we need to wait for somebody to butcher it. I'm kind of curious to see how this whole process works. Because I've never actually hunted anything before. Hey, Jack, could I get a round of beers? Once again, we're looking. We're doing the thing again. Just curious about how many people are listening to the stream right now. From my point of view, it's 0. I really wonder if we get the antlers. I doubt it. Also doubt that we get bones, assuming it's just meat. You guys are making my job hard today, you know that, chat? Waiting for someone to come butcher this. All right, there you go. Butchered it, and looks like we just get steak out of it. Have any of you guys ever seen the really old Mickey Mouse short where he's on the steam engine paddle boat and he's just playing music and then he gets thrown into the hold and told to go cut potatoes, and he cuts the potatoes so poorly that there's like no potato left in the potato, or he's supposed to peel the potatoes but instead cuts like 2/3 of the potato off in the process. That's kind of how I feel about how they just butchered this deer. Yeah, Steamboat Willie, that's the name of it. It's kind of how I feel about how they butchered this deer. It was a whole deer there, and we get one tiny steak out of it. Like, how do you go from whole deer? Well, that claims to be 2 deer, so I guess that's 2 servings of deer. But it's like, how do you go from an entire deer to a steak? Be like you take a whole cow and you put a cow in a blender, and the only thing you get out of it is like 1 prime steak. One perfectly sliced steak. From whole cow to just steak. Like, how badly did you fuck up like harvesting that creature to only come out with such a small piece of it? It's hilariously sad. I kind of love it. It's a compressed deer. You know, I have a really hard time, like, wrapping my brain around centimeter cubed. It's, like, such a strange sizing. It's like, what even is a centimeter cubed? I have no idea. Because really, I couldn't tell you. You're just, like, blind. We need 1 centimeter cubed. I'd be like, It's like, I know it's like a centimeter, it's squared, but like also, or rather cubed, but like a dice, sure, but like when someone says 75 centimeter cubed, what does your brain think? That steak feeds the dwarves for a week? Well, I mean, steak goes pretty far if you put it into soup. That's for sure, and that's all they're really doing. I love watching them just operate this kitchen. It's way too hypnotic to me. So we've got copper back here. Start mining this stuff out. Although rather, actually, I only want to do one of those. Well, I mean, that's your own small brains problem then, Absolute. Is it nobody important? I don't know anything about medical jargon. Yeah, we need this copper to be able to make the brew tanks. That. Oh, it's a bucket. They ever finish tilling this? Oh, hey, that's interesting. They finished tilling the soil in the winter. Huh. I guess you can't irrigate in the winter. You know, if you fold it enough, then you can fold space-time and make the connections between freedom and commie units. Which is actually silly to call, like, Celsius and metric commie units, because it's like, there's a lot of countries that are very much not communist that use the better system, but snow dwarfs? I mean, it definitely snows, although the game lags when it's snowing. It's kind of funny. The only time the game really lags, from what I've seen, is when it's snowing. But, you know, we're on day 3 of winter. We got plenty of food. We got 30 tomato. We got so much tomato soup. We're going to be eating tomato soup for years. We got boar, deer, tomatoes, potatoes, and hops. Although we still need to finish this. What's everything in units? Currency and distances? You decide what unit is. Who cares? Well, I mean, that's because, like, No Man's Sky cares about as much about science as Elon Musk cares about it, like, keeping his workers happy, so. There's also reasons why, you know, like, planets are not actually spheres in that game. I'll be honest, that's the thing that broke No Man's Sky for me, was when I learned that the you can't walk in a circle around a world once you've landed on it. Is that it just endlessly generates flat plains for all eternity, and you can't actually walk around a world. The second I learned that, I was like, I just lost all interest in ever playing this video game. That sounds delicious. Gosh, I could go for some good soup right now. It's that time of year where, like, soup's good. I mean, soup's usually good, but soup's especially good at this time of year. Wait, hold on a second. So apparently building those removes their sleeping spot? That's kind of... Oh, wait, no it doesn't. I thought it did for a second there. It's like, what? So hopefully we get a big influx of new citizens next year, because... What is that? Inventory. Okay, so this is the inventory on, like, the prep table to make another soup. 3 tomatoes and fox. Just 3 tomatoes and fox, like a serving of fox. Please define fox, game. What exactly is a serving of fox? I would love to know. Yum, right, Litchi Boo? It's a 1 fox. I mean, it's significantly less terrifying than the 2 fox soup. For fuck's sake. Yeah, see, the Power Flash makes it. Understands. That's usually what happens to small animals in Call of the Wild, though, to be honest. Is they just evaporate into thin air. And it's like, well, I mean, that would have been a gold if I didn't use a 30-06 on that. Oh, man, I just realized I'm screwing this up. Oh, well. Different colors, different types of wood make different wood colors. Neat. Oh, it's definitely like a tomato-based meat soup. Fox and tomato soup. I shall call it a foxy solution. We also haven't successfully figured out how to get, like, bakery stuff working. Do I have to make a mill or something? I might actually have to make a windmill. Hold on. What does a windmill do? Did it not tell me? We should just place a windmill out here and see what happens. Okay, so they need linen in order to make that. I mean, we can't figure out what a top fox tastes like until we figure out what the fox says. You know, honestly, it's probably a good thing that they're making foxes into soup because I'll bet you foxes have, like, very little usable meat on them. Not that I've ever even tried to eat a fox. It'd be like eating a cat. You can't... There's really not much there. Unless, like, you spend a lot of time fattening it up. And even then, still, there's not much there. We'll worry about making the floors of the bedrooms look nice later. Just trying to figure out what we're capable of right now. Yeah, probably not great for you. Generally, the animals that are good eats, we already eat frequently, so... Let's just work on everything else. Like this stuff, primarily. Crushed ore. There we go. I mean, alligator tastes pretty good, and that's carnivore. I know that you mean, like, crane is in the bird cranes, but I'm imagining, like, construction cranes. Cranes have tasty meat. Mm-hmm. Yep, naturally. Primarily the very scary large Italian men that drive them. Someone's probably into that. Iron. A lot of iron in your blood today. Those X-Men movies weren't very good, were they? I mean, I like some things that taste metally, but I can't say I've ever eaten a construction crane. I feel like Hobo has seen that anime. There's got to be like a anthropomorphized construction. Okay, so who here remembers Mighty Machines, the TV show? Mighty Machines. Does anybody remember that? Okay, imagine that, but like they turn into hot anime ladies. That's just what that's where my brain's gone based on what Hobo just said. Vaguely. Yeah. It's just like, this is a backhoe, but for kids, the TV show. Let's just unbuild and rebuild these. Let's try this again. Let's move the brew kettle over here slightly. And let's make this down here. I feel like sometimes they just like fail to complete constructions of things. If you just like cancel it and rebuild it, then they successfully build it, so we'll see. We need more steel plates. What are we... We're missing something for this, and I don't know what we're missing. I think it's fuel, but I also have no proof of that, and I also have no more fuel. Actually, that's not true. There is more fuel. Why not the fuel? Yeah, headlamps are a optional thing for miners. And they have little candles on their heads. They're kind of amazing, Twitch ups. I'll pause when I see one. It's one of my favorite little weird details of this game. Another game I need to play some more of is Obsidian Prince, because that game's been developed a bunch since I last tried it. And they've really expanded that like run-based mode portion of it. Need a good little puzzle roguelike. Also a cave cavern, or cavern in here. Cave cavern? A cavern cave? Cavern of caves. Cavey cavern. Yeah, these guys. They have little headlamps. I think that they're absolutely adorable. Look at that. It's kind of great. Look at this tiny little headlamp he's got. Okay, what's that? Dwarves. You build door right here. We just need more steel plates. Well, can I make you out of materials aside from steel? Maybe if I make you out of kettle, or kettle. Maybe if I make you out of copper, you can get done quicker. Let's try that. Let's try and make you out of copper too. I don't know how much copper I have, but I know I was mining copper ore. I don't see any. Well, we just made another container, which is good. Okay, so we have no copper plates. How many copper plates are we trying currently? I don't think it defines by material. Let's just say make 30. And we'll mine more copper. Seems like we made those steel tanks that they needed. Oh, interesting. If you say make them out of steel, then they want it all to be made of steel. If you say make it out of copper, then they want to make it all out of copper. That's interesting. Huh. I'm making you out of iron. We've discovered a new area. Oh, that's cool. Oh, damn. Look at all that fuel. That's exactly what we've needed this whole time. Interesting. All right. So now we've got this huge coal vein. No, we are not making fermentation tanks out of cobalts. I don't understand the question. You know, there's a type of stone called cobalt, right? Just, you know, asking for a friend. Just let them do that. I'm very confused as to what that question even came from in the first place, Delithus. So I'd love to know where you got that from. Like, is this a reference to something that I'm missing, or like what? Because I'm very confused. So you can't be made out of copper. I'm so confused by what chat's even on about right now. Well, that's not even an option. So I guess the answer to your question of are we making fermentation tanks out of kobolds is no. No, we are not. Don't even think that's possible. We need more food for next year. Which is good, because they seem to be growing more. So we're going to have a ton of potatoes ready for this year. No. Not even remotely close. More like chat, king of making themselves look silly. If chat destroyed my sanity, I would be in an asylum years ago. More like continuously baffling streamers' existence and making streamer wonder why streamer tolerates such idiocy. No, the problem is like random comments like that are great when chat is moving really fast, but random dumb comments when chat's kind of, you know, pretty lurky, which we've been all day today. Like today's been exceptionally lurky, right? When the chat's really slow and one person makes an incredibly strange comment that I don't understand and then doesn't respond to it, and then no one else says anything, it's kind of like, am I the idiot here? Where did this fucking comment come from? So that's all it really is. It's not a, like, anybody's destroying anybody's sanity. It's just a, why did you say that? And could you please explain to me why you said that? Because it made no sense in the first place and still makes no sense. And it's just frustrating when then nobody continues to respond. So that's all. Random dumb comments are totally fine when the chat's moving, but when the chat's not moving, it's just kind of a little bit frustrating. That's all. So I need to make another bloomery furnace. What you making? Making ingots. We just need to expand the forge in general, so let's dig this back this way. That's the actual issue. And I mean, even that in and of itself isn't really that much of an issue. I mean, where would we be without Twitch chat saying random nonsensical silly things? Come on. Chat, every Delta would like to know how you're doing today. Question is anybody going to look at the chat long enough to see that? Long time no see, Render. What brings you by this part of the world for once? In such a long time. Based on what Delta's been saying, I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not they may be all right. It's farming a bit in old school RS. One of the best point-and-click adventures ever made. Died due to starvation, excuse me. Uh-oh, we are very hungry. I was under the impression that we were okay. Guess not. That's not good. Means we might be about to lose everybody. Yep. Shit. I don't have a hardcore or a hard save, so this might just be it for this fort. What's that? It's a carrot? Somebody eat that carrot. All right, there you go. Not everybody's gonna die, just some people are. All right, time to dig some graves, I suppose. I thought that we were doing all right for food, but I guess not. I mean, there's tomato soup right there. They literally just need to go put it somewhere. Cool. I was focusing too hard on this. I mean, it's exceptionally unfinished, so fantastic is maybe being a bit too kind to it right now, unfortunately. Because it is exceptionally unfinished. We'll survive this. It's just everybody's dying first. I think. But some people got some food. We'll see if we can recover. That's, you know, just lost a handful of people. All right, they just need to make some of that. How many chefs do we have? 3? Okay. Just having a nap. Whoops. That's all I can really say to that is whoops. How many are we at? 13? Cool. We're butchering more food. We just got some hunting done. Brought a fox in, I think. The tantrums aren't so bad right now. They don't really do much. They just kind of run around mad for a minute. What, old school RuneScape? I wouldn't ever want to stream old school RuneScape because that community is a fucking nightmare. No offense to anybody who streams old school RuneScape, but that community is genuinely a nightmare. Hold on a fucking second. Why aren't they putting cauldrons in here? Well then. I believe I just figured out why we ran out of food. I mean, one of the main reasons I stop streaming games, or pick what games I'm going to stream, is do I want to interact with that community? If yes, I'll stream the game. If no, I have zero desire to play it. And that's how I feel about a lot of games. So the second a community for a particular game becomes insufferable for whatever reason, I just stop interacting with it. There we go. Now we have plenty of soup. I feel like an idiot for not realizing that I hadn't put soup in there. Although, I'm not opposed to streaming MMOs, though. There is a genuine part of me that is looking into and considering streaming some Ultima Online. So that might happen at some point. We'll run a private server for a bit. Or for a while if people are into it. Bonus of running a private server for Ultima is you'll have a lot more control over how long things take. There we go, farming's getting done. Right, something else I need to do is in the fall, I need to remember to harvest berries. You can get a lot of fruit in the fall. I just kind of forgot to do it last year. I was paying far too much attention to all this down here, so. Can I increase the priority of these? Get those constructed and get those last two bodies put away. I don't really like having bodies just sitting in my kitchen. Well, we didn't actually lose that many. It's only 8 dead. Could have been a lot worse. Gotta get one more body out of here and then we're good. Most of the dwarves right now are just working on maintaining this massive kitchen that we have. Which is kind of okay. There we go. Last body's gone. Cool. Can slow down work a little bit. Let's take you off of that and give you blacksmithing as a second job. You're just going to mine and blacksmith. Wonder how long the saw a dead body thing lasts for. It's kind of rough. I've also got too many farmable fields now. So I think it's the first of spring that you get people, but we didn't get anybody because people were pissed. That exact moment. That's not true at all, actually, in this game. But, okay, render. Thank you for your input. It's not quite like Dwarf Fortress. Similar, but it's a lot simpler in that regard. Unfortunately. I prefer it be that way, but it's not. It just doesn't tell me how long it lasts. Okay, so that's just under construction. We got the brew kettle done. So now we just need the copper mash tank to be done, and then we just need someone to start brewing. I'm assuming that's the same as chefs, right? And I'd assume. There's no specific job for brewing. There we go. Now we just need one more barrel. And at that point, we should be good to go. Carpentry. Who's my carpenter? Let's give you the secondary job of cooking. And let's go mine, or not mines, chop down some trees. I'm assuming I just ran out of wood. You mean like they're incredibly like major and frequent amnesia and ADHD, Gemini, when it comes to guards, when they see you and then like ring, and then they forget like 2 minutes later and go back to their pattern? Is that what you mean? Watching the brewery and seeing when they start running down there. Cool, more mining is getting done. I guess so. I don't know. But regardless, all of this entire conversation is irrelevant because it's not accurate, and it also still hasn't answered my initial thinking out loud question of, I wonder how long these bodies I wonder how long it takes for them to like forget about having seen the bodies. Half of them have already forgotten. I just don't know how long it's been because I'm keeping the time moving pretty quick. But, you know, it's fine. My biggest concern about this game is that it's going to end up like RimWorld, where it's actively unfun to play it. That is my biggest concern. I really hope that they find a good balance between like management of the game and or managing the little characters and interacting with them. Worried they won't. This game is exceptionally bare bones, so the answer to almost every one of your questions, Render, is going to be not yet. Have a look at the roadmap. Like, this game went into early access, like, the other day. And it's one of those games that went into early access because it needed to, not because they wanted to. It's unfortunately very common. Results in a lot of games that have a long way to go. You know, I just want to ban you for stating that, Memorex. Like, that's just a disturbing concept to even think about. So I'm going to delete that message. If you would like to say hello and participate in conversation, that would be wonderful. But if you're just here to talk to me about dead people, I mean, I could tell you about the person that I saw fall off a building a couple months ago. But, you know, I don't think anybody wants to know. Not exactly a engaging, fun conversation. All right. Certainly not something I want to discuss with you. I'm going to move this stockpile down here, because this is just crushed ore and fuel. So let's make another fuel stockpile. I just do not need to discuss that with you. You can change the subject or cease speaking. That's your choice. Also, I appreciate the fact that I asked you not to discuss it, and the first thing you do is continue to discuss it, so. Consider that your last chance. I don't understand why this is such a complicated concept for you to grasp. All right. 6th of summer. Slow down time a little bit. Chat, can we get a round of beers so that I don't have to stare at that deleted line of text any longer? Be greatly appreciated. It's interesting. Okay, I do have the ability to assign you as hunters. The best part was that line was a first-time viewer chat highlighted big and bold and everything, which is like, cool. Hey, it's a Thorlar emote. I don't see those very often these days. He rated me a couple times back in the day. I used to see his emotes quite a bit. Been a while. Hope he's doing all right. No, actually, let's do this. So now my miners should just go and mine through all that pretty quick. Get us down to here. Could have gone this way, which would have been faster, but whatever. Doesn't really matter all that much. Yeah, that's the same reason for me. I follow him, but I, like, never see him on. I know that he still streams, it's just not when I can watch. Curious about what... Somebody's apparently producing 3 malts. You're supposedly producing hopped wort. So somebody's doing work in here, I just... Not sure who. Pardon? Oh, okay, so fighting with elephants is just about as bad of an idea as Dwarf Fortress, because somebody just died to internal bleeding. Noted. Bruised, bleeding left leg, bruised abdomen, light damage to intestines, bruised left foot, bleeding chest, heavy damage to the right lung. Yep. Yeah, not that that's something people should brag about, but as somebody who used to be a daily streamer, like daily streaming is one of the worst things for streamers' mental health that streamers like to brag about. It's such a bad gimmick. There is no kobolds in this game. Delta. Currently. I don't know how else to say that to you. I tried to say it to you once already, but you're still asking, and all you're going to do is confuse people and continue the problem from earlier of nonsensical silliness. But, you know, if you wish to commit nonsensical silliness, which is kind of a crime. Yeah, I saw cobalt stone. But there's no kobolds. There is coal, if I wish to be so bold, though. Plenty of coal. I'm pretty sure you could name a dwarf coal. Okay, but the stone of cobalt doesn't bleed, though. They're not exactly close enough. Kind of still completely different. That seems suboptimal. Huh. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay. Nope, that wasn't even in the brewery, so how could we be roasting malts in a burn barrel? That was the water barrel for the kitchen. The brewery is this zone. This is the kitchen. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely, Queen Warrior. I just don't like people bragging about it. I don't like seeing people talk about it or flaunting it or bragging about it because then other people attempt it that can't do it. You just see people get hurt. Even Co-Carnage was like very ill when he ended his streak. He was real mad when he had to end his streak, but like, dude wasn't functioning properly anymore. So I don't think it's something that we should highlight or brag about. Yet it's still something people highlight and still something people brag about, so it's kind of painful to watch. Hold on a second. I don't have a carpentry workshop. That's what's causing me problems. I have a sawmill. I don't have a carpentry workshop. I thought I built one of those. I guess I didn't. That would explain why I'm not getting the barrels that I need. Anytime you guys are ready. I think that we need to knock down some of these. Nope, they're slowly working on that little shaft. Yeah, but you're the one talking about it, right? In this instance, I don't know what else to say, Queen Warrior. After 7 days, they were irritable and not pleasant. They couldn't figure out why people stopped watching. Wanted to say it, but you weren't that much of a viewer to begin with. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I do occasional spats where I do like a long stint, but there's gonna be very short days interspersed with that. Like I'm streaming every single day of December for the first 24 days, but some of those days are gonna be real short, and I'm taking a vacation afterwards. So, but I don't know. I don't want to highlight it, I guess. Also, gosh, quitting a job to go full-time streaming, that's something I never want to have to do again. That was probably the most stressful 6 months of my life. Glad I did it, though. You're going to make a fishing rod. Right. So I confused the wood-cutting bench and the carpentry bench. I forgot that they weren't the same thing. This makes, like, wooden tools, and this makes planks. So this makes planks to construct stuff out of. This... cool. So one makes planks to construct stuff out of, and then the other one... you know, makes tools. So this is making fishing rods first, out of planks. Now they're making buckets, and then they'll make barrels eventually. One thing that I think is kind of neat about this game is that it has all of the production lines already set up for you. Like, you can tweak them in the proportions of what you want, but they kind of just automatically make the things that you need. Like, now he's making barrels. He's taken all the different pieces that we've assembled from other places and is making more barrels now. Barrels have, like, 4 ingredients, too, which I think is neat. Like, even Dwarf Fortress barrels are 1 ingredient, and that's a log. And then they magically make a barrel out of that log. This has 4 different ingredients that they then assemble into a barrel. Now you're making sycamore buckets. Got a lot of hops, not much else. All right, we need to harvest some berries or we're going to be in trouble. All right. That little production line functioning again, sort of. More of those barrels. Why did you stop making barrels? You're producing 5 barrel stabs. Okay, so now you're making bits and pieces of barrels to make more barrels. There's 1 barrel. Assigned to construction of sycamore water barrels. So that's going to get moved down to here, I think. Okay. Oh, sweet. They've actually made 2 barrels. There's a barrel down there now. We've got another one, which has been assigned to be constructed into here so we can start making meals again. Phew. Okay. I'm still trying to figure out what set that barrel on fire. Is it just like blatant stupidity or where did that come from? Maybe it's because I put it next to the lamp. Like, I don't even know. Maybe there's just a chance that things can catch fire. Maybe dwarves have the power of spontaneous combustion during anger. Maybe they're just like unknowing pyro mages. Which would be kind of hilarious. I think the icon had water on it. I can't really remember. But also there was that one bug in The Sims for a while where 1 in 1,000 approximately times when a man would urinate, it would like set the toilet on fire. So maybe it's a situation like that. Well, I mean, now that's on fire, so. But this time it gave me a notification. There is like a extinguish fire button, and I'm trying to find it. Extinguish, there we go. Oh, hey, it automatically promotes it higher. Oh. That destroyed pretty quick. Somehow we managed to save the potatoes, though. What, when you pee and your toilet catches fire? I hope that you saw a doctor about that. That seems like a pretty serious issue, man. Just impressed by how many steps we need to make barrels in this. Kind of neat. It'll also make us another cauldron eventually. Also, I don't know if this is a bug or not, but all of the brewing stuff just stays at 0%, even though allegedly it's working. Like, allegedly this is producing beer, but its progress to completion is just 0. So, but over here I need to make a beer tapper. Now I just want to play beer tapper, god damn. I can't even remember the last time I played Tapper. That's such a good little arcade game. That's not where I wanted to place you at all. I wish this had keyboard controls, chat. Your story. Right. What do you need? Plants and iron barrel hoops. Okay. So once that finishes making beer, we can allegedly put it in that. We're up to year 4 now, which again is the longest I've survived in this, so. I'd love to get those population numbers a little higher. They used to have a soda tapper on the ferries going over to Vancouver Island here. But there was a arcade in the fair that had beer tapper. I think that arcade's still there. I don't know, but I haven't been there in a very, 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 very long time. Actually, not that long. Me and Hobo went there a couple of years ago. I don't know if Hobo remembers, but probably does. We played a game, not Tapper, though. No beer available. That is the saddest thing I've seen all day, chat. Although my dad's coming over tonight to listen to some records, and he's bringing beer, so there will be beer available in my house soon, which is a very good thing. And I am planning on going to the pub on Sunday. Because the bartender who I like talking to has quit. Rule of going to local bars, chat, is you always have to go when your bartender quits. It's like it should be a law. Beer and jams? Oh, hell yeah. So me and my dad hang out. I mean, I acquired two more speakers since me and my dad last hung out too, so. I now have more sound variety. Let's make a stockpile for just ore, I think. Sure, you know what, that'll work. Make it for everything. Okay, let's make more of these fermentation tanks. Because they are making more tanks, and I'm assuming they just, like, those are the ones they need to sit in for a bit. It's what I call a Saturday, Render. Although, Render, you probably missed this, but relatively recently I bought myself a 1970s boombox from 1976 made by Sony. It has analog levels dials on it and everything. And I ripped the whole thing apart and repaired it mostly. I'm still waiting on one more part before I rip it apart again and finish repairing it. So I can take that with like 9 D-cell batteries to the park and blast music really loud for like 3 hours until the batteries are dead. I go spend $15 on more batteries. See, people complain about like Spotify subscriptions and stuff. Back in the day, all of my like money just went towards batteries. I also want to build like a grain house out here. I know I have hemp seeds, but for some reason they're just like refusing to plant that. I don't get it. Let's kill those 2 deer if we get the opportunity. So is anybody in this chat looking to pick this game up? I'm curious. And if anybody has played it, I'm curious to know your thoughts. We also have some fish. That's pike. And I'm not sure what that one is. Perch. I wonder if there's carp in this game. Well, one of those games is good, Render, and you can figure out which. Although I will be raiding a RimWorld stream tonight. I shouldn't talk too much smack. I will be raiding a RimWorld stream tonight because I am helping manage the hot potato in the background. Although today I haven't had to do much. Curious about how much Italix has raised so far. He's only been on for like 10 minutes. Probably, I'm guessing about $16,000. Not quite that much. Yay, they're up to $44,000. $319 for Doctors Without Borders. Information is in the link if you click it. So what brings you back to the channel after so long, Render? Because it has been a really long time. Is it just I'm playing a game with graphics, or is it something else? Waiting for a couple months? I would say that's actually really wise. This is a game I would actually recommend don't buy right now. Wait a bit. Maybe not too long, but wait a bit. Like, just give this one a couple of major like, wait for the combat update that they've talked about. I think once the combat update hits, this will be much easier to recommend. Right now, it's a little tricky to recommend. But there's certainly a lot of potential here. Although we'll be trying out, or gonna see if we can make Songs of Six work again in December. do a little bit of that. I will say one thing, though, is another thing that I'm planning on doing in December is having the developer of this game get into a voice call with me to talk about this game. We're going to be doing that at some point in December once he has some time. Once he's done hot fixing post Steam release, obviously. I get you, Render. I always wonder about some of the people that used to be around the channel all the time that they just kind of vanished off into the ether. Like, I do remember names. Every now and again, people will pop back and be like, holy shit, you remember me? And sometimes someone will come back and I'll be like, oh god, not you again. You know, we all have our favorites, I guess. But at least you're working. Bartending's not so bad. Mining out all that coal ever so slowly. Yeah, I think I would be giving this game another 6 months too if I, 3 to 6 months, if I hadn't backed it. But the fact that I've backed it, it's like, well, there's no reason to not. Special, how so? Special like it's just a community venue, or like special as in fancy? I have this problem where we have two, like I've got 2 bars within walking distance from me. One of them is a really, really fuck off expensive, not great hotel bar, which is where most people hang out. And then there's one that's always empty. And those are like my options. And then there's like a pool bar, and I don't play pool. And then there's a kind of crappy sports bar that's not far enough away that it's not really worth walking to. Well, that's good, Render. I like it, Pack. It's very, 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 very bare bones. But if you have a glance at the roadmap, there's a lot of potential in there. A whole whack load of potential. A lot of possibilities for cool, I suppose. A lot of possibilities for cool. It's definitely worth watching. It's one of those games where it's like, it might not be something you want to pick up right now, but yeah, aside from that, like, I think I kind of have this advantage of I backed this in 2018 and paid less than $20 for it back then, and I think that's a very good price for where it's at right now. I think the current asking price for this game is a little bit steep for what's here right now, but once they get like 1 or 2 patches in and some more content added, I think that this game will be super cool. Don't understand how any of this stuff works. But the fact that everything requires tools and like making barrels requires like 8 different steps. Like they have to make every piece of the barrel separately, and it requires staves, it requires hoops, and that's just for making barrels. Like everything requires a bunch of different steps, and everything ends up feeling complicated and interesting, but not overwhelming. And as long as they keep going down that route, I think that this could end up being really cool. But at the same time, they managed to make that complexity not feel like overwhelming or ridiculous. Very few, actually. Think about it this way, Pack. When you play Prison Architect and you play RimWorld, how much do they have in common? Aside from the view perspective and the graphical style. Stating that this has something in common with RimWorld is doing this game a disservice, just like it's doing RimWorld a disservice. The only thing that they really have in common is the fact that they're both colony builders. That's it. Outside of that, there's almost no similarities. You have no direct control over your colonists. Combat's going to be turn-based when they add that in. Mechanically, it's quite a bit different. It's doing a different HP system. It seems to have a similar mood system right now, but if you look at the roadmap, there's going to be a different HP system in the future, so I don't really think it's fair to compare the two in the slightest. And when you actually look at what this game is doing, it's got way more in common with Dwarf Fortress than it does with RimWorld. And I already don't like comparing RimWorld and Dwarf Fortress because I think those two games are completely different games. Like, this game already has liquid physics and irrigation and tilled soil. It's got seeds. It's got functioning fishing. It's got water wheels and power to pumps and move water to different places. It's got caves underground. It's got, like I said, no direct control. There's, like, lots of plans for a whole lot of different things in that roadmap, which is why I just linked the roadmap and said, go look at that. Because, like, that'll give you a pretty good idea of what kind of game this is going to end up being versus what other colony builders are. The only similarity it has to RimWorld right now is the graphical style, which I think is actually doing this game a disservice. Because I go and I look at the reviews for this game, and I've seen some negative ones where it's basically just, like, complaining that the game doesn't play more like RimWorld. It's like, why do things take so many steps? It's because it's a different kind of game. And I think that the popularity of RimWorld is actively going to damage the potential success of this game because RimWorld is such a simplified style of game versus a game like this. I don't actually understand if I'm doing this correctly over here. Not to say that RimWorld is a bad game. RimWorld is a very streamlined colony builder, but this is going for more depth than RimWorld. This is more like if Dwarf Fortress stayed 2D. So. So, I don't know. I don't like comparing games. Especially, like, when you take into account that, like, colony builders of this style are, I don't want to say a relatively new thing, but if you actually think about colony builders, we have RimWorld, Dwarf Fortress, we have No Moria, we have Towns, we have Odd Realm, Amazing Cultivation Simulator. That's about it. I'm trying to think of others. There really isn't that many that are this style of colony builder where it's mood management, relationship management, job priority management, resource management. There really isn't that many of them. They're kind of like I guess you could kind of fit Keeper RL in there to a degree, but there's really not that many of them. I don't consider Stoneheart's a town builder. To me, the difference between a colony builder and a town builder is a colony builder is a lot more macro, or micro, whereas a town builder is more macro. It's more like a city builder. Better or worse than RimWorld? That's like, okay, so that is the most unfair question you could possibly ask Club Penguin. Like, that is not even remotely a fair question to ask. Like, you're asking if a game that went into early access 3 days ago is better than a game that has been out and released and playable publicly since 2013. And you're asking me which one's better? Yeah, Exactly, Pack. All right, well, then I will simply do this. Ask me an intelligent question, Pat. Remember the time that RimWorld promised they would never release paid DLC? Yeah, about that. Got soup. Not that much, though. I need a dedicated chef. They're just going to be our dedicated chef now. Really need you to make me some food. There we go. Where are you going? All right, well, at least we have potato soup up there. I should make it through this winter just fine. Got plenty of food. Even without the soup, we got plenty of food. I think, you know what I really need? I really need just like 2 dedicated chefs entirely. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another kitchen prep table. I'm sorry for being such a stickler on that, like, refusing to compare games question. It's just silly, and it doesn't really benefit anybody. It just turns into a poop throwing contest. And if you want a poop throwing contest, you got to go to another stream. Refuse to be that streamer for you. And then they bring the other pot up. God, that is satisfying to watch. Yes, but I've also answered that question 5 times in the last 15 minutes. And Club Penguin Pat's been lurking the entire time. And if you are an even remotely observant person, you'll notice that I'm getting tired of answering the same question over and over and over again. And I don't see the purpose of why I need to answer it for every single person who comes into the stream. It really doesn't benefit anybody. Clip it and make a command? No. Simple as that. Because literally I answered that question and seconds later the person asked that question. And they did it in a way that I know that they were doing it just to annoy me. So how does that benefit anybody? That's just me accepting the fact that I'm letting people bother me. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. You guys need to just be better and learn that games are different games. Even if they have similar visuals. God damn, I got a lot of barley. I really need to plant less barley. Let's just like lower the priority on that. I just don't want to talk about it anymore, Render, really. All you're doing at this point is encouraging people. I think that a A perfectly good example of why I shouldn't need to answer that question is PAX response. I get what you're saying. Makes me more interested because if I wanted to play RimWorld, then I would. And if somebody's asking me, is this worse or better than RimWorld? A game that, like I said, has been publicly available since 2013 versus this. If someone's going to ask me that question, answering that question doesn't benefit anybody because you know the obvious answer. It's RimWorld, duh. Because RimWorld's been in development for a very long time. But if you were also to ask me what's the best town builder or the best colony builder ever made, I would tell you it's Dwarf Fortress. RimWorld kind of sucks compared to Dwarf Fortress. Truly, it does. Like, there's so few options and such little you can actually do with that game. And its capability of telling stories is so muted and bland compared to Dwarf Fortress. I just kind of wish that my audience was better than that. Not all of you are, apparently. Chat, give me something else to talk about that isn't as saddening to me. But I don't really know what else to say on this fucking subject. Aside from just like I want to cry internally because y'all are a bunch of dense twats. Although, not gonna lie, you can be funny sometimes. What's my favorite feature in this game? The complexity of the production lines. Like, I'm literally just watching this kitchen because I find it entertaining. Like, just the way that they bring the ingredients in, they leave them on the tables, they cut them up, they prepare them on the tables, they bring the water over, they put the water into the cauldron, then they put the ingredients into the cauldron and make the soup, and then they bring the soup into here and serve it to people. Like, that shit's so fucking neat to me. I'm just mesmerized by it. And if they just continue to expand on that style of design, like, imagine after a year of development what this game's going to look like once you have a whole bunch of different workshops all intertwined and working. It's going to be a optimization playground, and it's going to be great. In fact, not only am I renaming doors, but they're automatically named after people from chat. Hey, look, it's Sock Smell. Who else do we have? Cuglorf, Neil TV, Cyralac, Ultima Freak, Mark, Pwens. Okay, we got everything. But yes, you can rename them manually. But I just turned on this feature, which just automatically names them after people from chat. Speaking of Neil, thanks for the host, Neil. For only having 11 dwarves. I had 20 and 9 of them died. You were watching when that happened and talking in the chat too. We get more every spring. But because a bunch of them died during spring, we got no migrants that spring. So there's your reason for only having 11 dwarves. We had 20, but... So I'm hoping because we have a surplus of food now, that we'll get more. Well, it's not a huge surplus, but we do have a surplus of food. Winter's about to end, and we'll be able to get food again. Look at these. Oh, that's a dwarf. I mean, it's appreciated, Delta. It's just kind of a question mark of a question. I don't necessarily need to talk about the game itself. I just want to talk about anything that isn't just a, why is this game better than X game that looks remotely similar to it? I recommend that you have a peek at the roadmap to see what's coming. Currently, there's just caves. I don't think it is worth getting right now, Angus. I've been pretty clear about that. I'm streaming this for your entertainment and your knowledge of a game that you might be interested in the future. Not because you should buy it right now. If I was trying to sell you a game, I'd be throwing a referral link at you constantly. That's not the point of this. And also to showcase the game for people who may be interested in it in the future. How complex is the blacksmithing? They take the ore to the ore crusher. They crush the ore and it turns into crushed ore. They make fuel out of coal in the coke oven. And then they heat the crushed ore in the furnace with the fuel from the oven. And then they make it into stuff at the blacksmith shops. But you can also power these with water wheels and pistons to make them work faster, but I haven't really messed around with that stuff too much yet. A lot of shops can be sped up if you attach power to them. So instead of them working really slowly, you can power them and then they work faster. And that goes for quite a few different shops. Yeah, I can tell you right now, if you want a value for your dollar in the game right now, Angus, this game is not worth getting. I can tell you that for a fact. Get Odd Realm. If you want to support this game, then you could look into getting it. But outside of that, yeah, there's virtually no reason for you to get it. Right now, this is very much a unfinished as hell alpha. But at the very least, it is accurately an alpha. It's coal. We are using coal. I don't know if there is a way to use things that aren't coal. Like, I don't know if you can make a wood-powered forge. I need to bring that. That should be the priority, is bringing these guys over. Yeah, I'm still live. Also, Pilot, thanks for being 50% of the channel's revenue today. Actually, no, 75%. It's been a very quiet day today. Chill day, but a very quiet day. It's definitely a Saturday, post-big holiday for a lot of people. Spring day 2. Still fishing. I don't see the point of us harvesting all of that barley and hops, because they're not even brewing it currently. We should be working on all of the other fields. Yay, that's good, Pilot. How has work been recently? Oopsies. Accidentally just hit the screenshot button. That's unfortunate. Good chaos or bad chaos? Because chaos can be good. Like, chaos can be like, oh, it's keeping me busy and entertained. Work days go quick, that kind of chaos. But it can also be absolute clusterfucky and nightmare. Is it just all products? It really is just all products. All right, so we're going to delete that. And we're going to make this, turn that off. And just turn on products down there. That's good. Glad at the very least it's a good busy clusterfuck. Anybody set to hunt currently? Lowest priority, but yes. I just received a text message. My dad. My dad's coming over to listen to some records and have a beer or two tonight, so I get to end when my dad says he's on his way over. Speaking of music and stuff, Pilot, you'll appreciate this. Last night, I spent about an hour setting up 2 more speakers. Now all I need is a subwoofer, and then my amplifier will be completely decked out with everything it can have. Although, ideally, I would like 2 bigger speakers, because I have 2 1-meter speakers and 2 1/4-meter speakers, which are nowhere near as nice. So I need bigger speakers. A lot of stuff getting brought out of that hallway.
Whoa, dude, fuck yeah, dude. That's fucking sick. Hell yeah. Woo!
Yes, definitely improved Fuck the Neighbors button. Also, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, we actually have a new emote in the channel, which is Crypt Zzz, to go alongside of Crypt Zoom. We are basically out of food again. God, that's just funny. 2 fox. 2 units of fox meat there. Okay, there we go. Now we're getting those tomatoes planted. Got some of those carrots planted. Yeah, today's been super chill, Pilot. Ups and downs, but super chill. I have to figure out what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't actually know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I might just do dwarfs tomorrow, actually. Do a day of long death, keep her simple. What is this game? This is a game I backed on Kickstarter, like, in 2018, right now? Before you ask questions, have a glance at this. That's their roadmap. This was originally supposed to be out in 2019 in early access, I think. Died due to starvation. That's what I was worried about. They literally just need to move the soup up there, and then that problem will go away. Anybody want to move it? No. Move it. Come on. No. Don't. Okay. But anyway, this is a game that I've been kind of paying attention and waiting for a long time. It's essentially that person's about to die too. We literally need to pick this up and move it. That's all that they need to do is pick this up and move it. Same with that. Maybe I just need like a dedicated villager. Like somebody who does nothing but haul stuff. Huh. Well, maybe this is the end. I'm not sure why they are seemingly incapable of bringing this food over. Because that's literally all that they need to do is bring that pot of soup up here.
Bring out your dead.
Well, I suppose that's it for Alpha Fort. Attempt 1. I'm not sure why they can't bring it. This is very much true. AI does indeed need tweaking. Matter. All right, well, just a few more seconds until everybody's finished dying. But this is a very unfinished, interesting little game. There you go. You're doing the thing that we needed you to do. Now we get to survive a year with 2 dudes. Cool. Which means the only jobs that we actually need you to do are farm and cook. Both of you. That's it. It's farm and cook. We'll see if they last long enough for other people to show up. I don't know if I expect them to. It's kind of funny. You can tell when they're going to starve to death because they just like run in circles. And third job that you can do is fish. I want that to be your top priority, but on the bright side, we got more food than we know what to do with now. All right, so now we're down to 2 dwarves because of the AI having a hard time. Yeah, anyway, this is a game that I backed a while ago, and it's very much kind of taking ideas from 2D Dwarf Fortress from the early 2000s and kind of building on them. The game is very much focused on interesting production lines, like making barrels takes like 20 steps, for example, which I think is super neat. And I think that there's a ton of potential in this game. No, there's no Z levels. Why are you so shocked? It's, like I said, a take on 2D Dwarf Fortress. Without Z levels, there's a lot less that you need to worry about bug fixing wise, and you can make a much more logical game, which is not a negative thing. We already have one really good game with Z levels and a second game trying to be good with Z levels called Odd Realm. We don't need more. When it's finished, Angus. Googling Odd Realm. It's on Steam. It's 10. Here, I can just give you a link. It's also on itch.io. It's $10. And then outside of that, you also have Inomia, which is the open source No Moria. Odd Realm has some problems, but it's kind of like, you know how there's Minecraft and then there's also Terraria, right? There's Minecraft and there's also Terraria. Odd Realm is kind of, if Dwarf Fortress is Minecraft, then Odd Realm is Terraria. It's trying to be a lot more story and lore driven and character based and reoccurring characters and a preset storyline and stuff like that, and quests. But yes, development is slow because, you know, it's one developer. So let's see if these two can hold out the fort by themselves. We got Neil and Uncle Spawn. So best of luck to those two. Just need to get these bodies out of here. But farming is priority number 1. I'm hearing fireworks for some fucking reason. What's up, Psychon? How's things? But if you want a more drawn out answer to when Dwarf Fortress might be out on Steam, probably, if we're lucky, early next year, but by the end of next year it'll be out. They basically need it to be out by then, so they'll get it out by then. Also, most of the biggest hurdles have been completed now. It's just kind of a matter of getting the rest of it done. Good to hear, Psychon. Good to hear. Ba-da-dum, ba-dum. Also, Hobo's playing Halo. One of us. One of us. All of a sudden popped up on your recommended list. Well, I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend picking this game up right now unless you love playing super alphas, because this game very much is an alpha. I think that a lot of the story behind this game is kind of unfortunate because, like, I was like fucking called out. A lot of the stories behind this game are kind of unfortunate because the developer for this game had a publisher for a bit, but the publisher then dropped them at last minute. And they had more funding, but then they lost the funding at last minute. And they had another person to help work on the game, and then that person had to stop working on the game. Like, every single time, like, something good seems to happen to this game, like, something equally bad happens shortly after. Which just kind of sucks. So now they're both technically super angry, and they're both dying of hunger. Welp. There is a bowl of soup there. I'm not entirely sure as to why they can't just get that bowl of soup, but they can't, apparently. So instead, you just stand there dying of hunger. Yeah, definitely keep an eye on it. And definitely keep an eye on the roadmap. I think that this fort's about to die, so I'm just trying to get it to the end. And then we'll do another attempt, but not today. Although I might wait for some hotfixes. The AI definitely needs some tweaks. There's a lot of things in this that definitely need some tweaks. And there you go. All things must come into an end, and your settlement lies abandoned. That's it. All right, well, that is Alpha Fort. That concludes my first Alpha Fort. I think that we will we'll do another one of these, probably starting either tomorrow or next week. I just really want to see kind of how far I can push this game, and I'd like to play more of it.